Welcome back, everyone, to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. We have our CEO and President, Barry Morin, here with us today.
Hello, Evie.
Thank you, Barry. Two very special gentlemen. We have David and Mike Goad from Superior Sign, who is an accredited business.
Sounds like a father-son.
Yes, it does.
It is. And
They look like brothers.
Too.
Tell us your story.
Dave is like my age, and you can see the camera. Dave is like, we're about the same age, or he might be a few years younger, but he looks a lot younger. He looks a lot like Michael,
You said
right?
that about my dad, too.
Your dad is very young looking, too. And he's older than me.
It's the salesman in him.
Yeah. I'm not selling nothing. I'm at the BBB. Past life, though. Go ahead, Debbie. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Go ahead and tell me Superior Sign, your background, what you guys do.
We offer on-premise advertising. We've been in business in the Richmond area since 1982. I started the business in 1982 out of my garage. I had one pickup, one just me. Been very blessed. They say you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and I feel like we have surrounded ourselves with some good people. I've had employees that have been with me over 40 years. So when we get an employee or a customer, for that matter, we want to keep them. So we've been very fortunate. We've had, we started out as just small signs and stuff like that, and developed a relationship with companies like UCrops, First Market Bank, which grew into Union Bank, which grew into Atlantic Union Bank. So we've been very fortunate to hold on to the customers that I got from a very early part of the business.
Wow. What's it like being a father-son duo?
We're only a weekend, so I don't know.
So you don't know this, Evie, but I'm going to ask Dave a question real quick because I always remember I sold him a vehicle, but I remember seeing his vehicles. I used to hire them, and the color purple.
Yes.
Explain that to the
that's
audience.
A big part. That's a big part of the business. Our trucks are purple because I started out back in 1969 being a Minnesota Vikings fan, and their colors are purple. And then poor Mike, I lured him into that into that pitiful arena of watching the Vikings lose. So that's why our trucks are purple.
Did you guys win a Super Bowl recently in my lifetime?
Barry, I'll get up and walk
I was in
away
Pittsburgh.
Right now.
I was in Pittsburgh, I think, when that went down. I think I hit you up on Facebook and saying, we're almost there. And nope.
You spoke too soon. You always got to hold your tongue when it comes to the
Let me tell you
Vikings.
something. I went to a Viking game, believe it or not. You don't remember this, but I do. Probably around 2007 or 8 when the Shots moved out to Minnesota, and Meredith and I and Jennifer went out and visited Kelly Schott and all. And they took us to a game, Kansas City Chiefs and the Vikings.
Did they
playoff? I think they did win. Okay. Yeah, but it was exciting. So I don't know. I digress. You know what I would do. I'm like
You're
an
an
interrupter.
instigator is what you are.
I do that. That's what storyteller's all about on this podcast show. And this is sharing, right? So I got the question for Michael. Okay, you don't know where to go with this one. So, Michael, you've had an incredible career. You're a football player from a little kid all the way up. You played in Hampton City?
Yes, sir. I played a year at University of Richmond, then transferred and played 4 years at Hampton
That's
Sydney.
right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. U of R. Yes. And so all of a sudden, you're not in Chesterfield any longer.
Right.
And I hear about you're in this new job and then career, and then you found another part of your life serving people in the community. So why don't you talk about yourself?
Yeah, so shortly after college, I was working with actually a teacher placement agency. I was wanting to get into education, and I got a call from Fork Union Military Academy, who, if you're a fan of football or sports, you know you've heard Fork Union Military Academy, and so I knew a little bit about them, but what I didn't know at the time is that they're very well known for their postgraduate football program, but they're also a 7 through 12 middle school and high school. And so I went out and interviewed with the dean at the time out there and fell in love with Fork Union Military Academy, accepted the job at Fork Union Military Academy. I taught there for 4 years, 7 years as a 7th grade U.S. History and English teacher, and then a year in the upper school teaching AP U.S. History, AP U.S. Government. In 2019, I was offered the academic dean position there and served my last 5 years at Fork Union as the academic dean there. And a little bit of a personal background without going too far into it. My wife, who was born and raised in Fork Union, was working at the academy at the time. She wasn't my wife when I moved there, but we met really, quite frankly, several weeks into my time at Fork Union, and I want to say, was it less than a year later, Dad? Maybe a little bit over a year later, we were married, and so Fork Union became my second home, and I call it my home now because that's where my wife and I live. We're building a house where we want to raise our kids, and during my time getting invested in the community and things like that, I applied for and was appointed to the Planning Commission in Fluvanna County as the Fork Union representative out there, and then ran for Board of Supervisors last November and was elected to the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors I guess it was November 7th, and my 4-year term started this past January, so I've been 7 months into that job as well. And then shortly after Christmas this year, there was some interest from Dad and his partners about me making a career change. It was the right time in my life. I started out doing some sales and things for Dad when I was in college. I grew up working in the shop. Superior Signs, just as much as Fork Union is home now, Superior Signs is just as much home. I always said there was two things that could get me away from Fork Union, and that was coming back to work with my dad or have an opportunity to work at Hampton-Sydney College, my alma mater. So, here's where we are now. I'm excited. And Dad would tell you that we're a couple weeks in, and while that's true on paper, I've been at Superior Sign pretty much all my life. So,
do you owe him back pay?
Pardon?
Do you owe him back pay? Pardon?
Absolutely not. No.
He hasn't been an unpaid advisor?
He owes me a little bit. It's time for him
Good
to start
answer.
repaying.
I got to instigate something here. So, go ahead, everybody. You probably want to know a little bit more about the business relationship and the why.
I do want to know, yeah.
Because we answer the why here.
I do want to know why. So what is it why would you guys become an accredited business? Why would that entice you all?
Oh. You might not know the right answer. Don't worry about it.
It's a loaded question.
It is.
Because we're going to give you the right answer.
Because you're going to teach me what an accredited
That's
business
correct.
is. So you put the cart before the horse there. I just want to be known as a business that's in good standing and is respected by the community and has a good name.
Well, I'm gonna put my education hat on real quick, and many of the private schools in the area are accredited by the Virginia Association of Independent Schools. And when parents log on and they're deciding to send their kid to a private school, they want to know that school is accredited by some sort of organization that's been established, has a board, and has standards that they hold their schools to those standards. Every year in private education, you have to do a 10-year accreditation and to get reaccredited. And I'm sure you all have some form of opportunity there for folks to keep their accreditation and make sure. And so when you have that brand, whether it's the Better Business Bureau or Virginia Association of Independent Schools or some other sort of accrediting brand, it shows people that you've lived up and have met certain standards that professionals and those folks in the industry would expect you to uphold.
Anything you want to add to them to help them out? Because they're like the other 3,000 accredited businesses that we're trying to educate and trying to not resell, but re-educate, just really open the eyes of what our brand really is. We've done a terrible job over the last couple of decades. I guess when Google started, we really started not paying attention as much and not working as hard. So, Evie, you've learned quickly.
I think there's been a disconnect between the businesses and the BBB itself, in that we've become what's been known as a complaint system. Don't misunderstand me. We do accept complaints and reviews of all sorts, but they do get vetted, just like the companies do. We have to make sure that they're not AI, they're not bots that are being, generated just like on Google. If you respond to the review or the complaint, that puts you in good standing again on bbb.org. But one of the things that we need the businesses to understand, especially our accredited businesses, they've decided to uphold the same values as the BBB, which is integrity, honesty, respect, and starting with trust in the community. And what matters most is that the consumer is doing business with a company that has those values and that company abides by them, just like the BBB does. But at the same time, the accredited business does need to understand that we're a partner with them. We have resources for you all that you probably don't even know about because either we're not doing a good job about communicating it with you, or you guys are busy doing your everyday work stuff and you don't have time to listen to us, provide those things for you. And so that's why we want a lot of the business to come back in here and to understand, what we have to offer them is more than just a complaint system. Right. It's more than just a seal that you can put on your truck or your door.
And to give you an idea, and everybody listening, right, over this time, this podcast will be out there for years, but let's say in our 42 county area that we handle, there's, let's say, 50,000 businesses. So if 10% were accredited, cream of the crop, 10% would be 5,000. We have 3,000 accredited. So you are really the cream of the crop. And that is what's important in this 42 county area. I can't get the seals on your website, get your employees trained with a process that you lead with the words you're accredited to tell the consumer. Again, cream of the crop. We know what that means, right? You are not a dime a dozen. The other 90%, let's say, or the other 95% in reality, or 98% in real reality here, they don't see the value. They don't want to spend the money because you do make an investment. And everybody's like, well, what did you do to generate my money? We're not a dead expense. Dead expenses, David knows since 1982, when bad things come in the economy, dead expenses, that's when you start looking at your sheets. And I did it for 40 years in business like you have, and that's where you start slashing. We are an expense that's not a dead expense, and it helps your company. Unlike the other groups out there, there's chambers, there's Rotary, there's insider clubs. There's so many clubs, 212, Synapse, and everybody's spending money and going around giving out business cards to each other, wanting each other to do business with each other. We're not asking for that. All we're asking you to do is lead with our brand, know what it stands for, make sure your employees know what it means, respond to a consumer that complains, and then what your funds are doing are helping the whole entire community for us to keep our doors open to serve people that might be being scammed or ripped off, okay? And the non-accredited businesses aren't paying anything. And guess where all the complaints are coming from? Those people. Mm-hmm. So as much as you say, well, that doesn't do anything for it helps our community. Every time economic development brings a company to our area, whatever county that is, the more we brought Joe Casey in and Garrett Hart. We talked in depth. I've talked to Anthony Romanella and Ebony over there in Enrico over and over again to make them realize, imagine if a community all started with trust, one county, that every business was accredited. It's impossible because we'll pass on a lot of people also once we start doing research. So that's what we do. Long answer, but again, gives you a little bit better idea of what we do.
And I think that's an important point that you made at the end there, not to interject, but
no,
I mean, I think the fact that you all do these analyses and may pass on a business that applies. I mean, I think that's an important thing for people to understand is that this is not just something where you log in, set up an account, and pay your dues.
Not a membership.
Right. It's not a membership. And so I think that's important to highlight that, when I was at Fork Union, there was an admissions process for students, and you evaluate students to figure out who's a mission appropriate student. And if they're not a mission appropriate student, maybe that school's not the best place for that particular student. And I think the same applies with the Better Business Bureau. Mm-hmm. And that analogy is that, that kind of hammers home the importance of this accreditation is that you do have an evaluation process and you are putting your eyes on these things. And so I think 100% acceptance there would probably be not a much of a very good thing if that would mean you're kind of just passing over and then it's a membership, like you said. So
a lot of people don't realize that. They say, I don't want the membership anymore or whatever. So we got to bring this up real quickly, and we're going to go back to Dave in a minute. I want to know more about the business and who should call you guys and why you're different. But let's talk about our man. My boss was your boss. You know who we're talking about?
It's got to be Dave Barrett.
Dave Barrett.
Yeah.
You met Dave Barrett?
I have not.
You're missing it. So you go to chapel someday and meet him. But, he's done the chapel. He's done Family Foundation work. He was an advisor, financial advisor for years. Mm-hmm. Board of directors at Fork Union, got me to speak, went up there. One of the highlights, I didn't know anybody there except for you. I was so excited talking to this little kid that's now a man there, big leader at the thing, and telling my story, my witness or whatever, and he's my boss here too, because he's on the board of directors here. So what have you learned from him? And he probably has a little political insight for you too, I assume.
Yeah, Dave. I met Dave my first year at Fork Union. I'll call him Mr. Barrett. I feel like that's necessary to do. I mean, he's just such a gentleman and well known in the area and well respected businessman. And he invests so much of his time and his resources in things like nonprofits because it benefits other people. So I met him sitting on a bench my first year at Fork Union. I was this 23-year-old kid watching a JV football game, and I just saw this guy, and he was sitting on a bench. And, Dave Barrett's not much of a talker, so, we didn't strike up a conversation or anything.
So what?
So
You're being very sarcastic.
So Dave and I struck up a conversation.
That's Michael's sense of humor.
I hope you appreciate
Dave
that.
will be listening
and
to
I hope
this.
anybody who knows him and has been at Fork Union would appreciate that as well. So, but we struck up a conversation, started talking. I realized he was a board member, had no idea that he was a board member. And we really just, he gave me his phone number and told me, if I ever needed it. I mean, we developed a very, very good relationship. I would drive out often during Christmas breaks to meet and just have lunch with him. Yes, we would talk some politics, but we'd also talk some business as well. And, he invests so much of his time and resources in people. And really it started with my time starting at Fork Union and his time on the board of trustees. His son attended Fork Union Military Academy. And Dave, if you know Dave, his values and Fork Union's has a lot of values that align with Dave, and he's just been a benefactor and a supporter of the school ever since his son went there. And I could be wrong, and I apologize if I am, but I think his son ultimately transferred back. Fork Union, I think, did what they wanted to for his son, and he ended up graduating from another school. But that's how important Fork Union was to Dave, that he stayed invested in it and became a board member and has just been so
You're
great.
correct.
Great to me, great to Fork Union, great to the Better Business Bureau and so many other organizations and people around the Richmond area.
When I moved back here from Pittsburgh, I knew Dave. You'll appreciate this. So when I ran for Senate, I had to go, the Godfather in Chesterfield County, there was two, Bob Shrum. Did you ever do his signs over the years?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah. And he's the Godfather. You had to go get the ring, kiss the ring. Uh-huh. And this other guy named Dave Barrett. Mm-hmm. And I went with hand open, wanted money and endorsement. And I sat at his desk, like you probably did, sat down. He says, I can't support you. I support the guy that's already in the office. I said, now what do I do? I'll never forget it. And here he is. He's my boss again. We've become very good friends. And you're right. And he told me about 2 years ago, because he doesn't talk much, but when he does talk, people listen, right?
Right.
So he talks a lot. He talks almost as much as I do. That's what our reputation is.
Wow.
But wow, exactly. And he can talk about anything. And he tells me about this young kid that's going to be great for the board of directors up in Flavanna, right?
Yes, sir.
Fork Union. Mm-hmm. And this kid is going to be incredible, Barry. You got to meet him. Okay, his name is Michael Goad. I said, that kid, I would have told you that when he was 9 years old. I don't need to wait now, Dave. And what a small world. You never know who you know.
That's right.
But let's talk to Dave Goad here about what he does. Go ahead, Evie.
Yeah. Tell
I
us a
don't
little
talk
more.
as much as Dave Barrett.
Neither do
No,
I.
you don't. You're getting good. Yeah.
I'm around Barry too much.
You got to replace me, so you got to talk.
But yes, tell me more about the business, what you guys do, how much it means to you all.
Well, like I said, we're an on-premise advertising business. We, and some people don't know what that is. That's, your pylon signs out in front of your business, your interior stuff like this, shopping centers, financial institutions. Virginia Credit Union is one of our big customers. Patient First has been one of our long-standing customers. Just stuff like that. Like I say, we do the interior stuff that you have
if
here.
anybody's watching, it's like the sign behind me here.
Right. And we're going to take a picture in front of that
We are.
superior sign.
And we really like when people change their name. I think it's important that people change their name every 5, maybe 6 years. We like bank conversions. No, my dad taught me something a long time ago. That anything worth doing is worth doing right. There's 2 ways to do something, the right way and the wrong way, and that's pretty much how I've run my business. We believe in, we're not going to do every job right. We're not. but you need to stand behind that job and go out and fix it in a timely manner and make the customer happy. You're not going to make money on all jobs, but you need to build a relationship with these customers and keep them as a customer. And like I say, that's been a big part of my business over the years is getting customers and holding on to them. So
He used to do the signs at Haley. We could name them at Haley, Buick GMC, Pontiac back in the day. So we changed the name there. And you had to change up the sign.
right.
And boy, you were creative because we had an old building, if you remember, and we had you need a lot of creativity of that street sign, and you guys made it work. And the quality work. So I encourage accredited businesses that are listening, and I encourage you guys to Superior Sign, your vendors, you should start going to bbb.org and do business with like-minded people. Don't all of a sudden you go to somebody you've been dealing with and you're starting to wonder if they're really strong and you see an F rating, run. Don't just think about it, run. I don't care if they're your brother, run, because it means something is going internally wrong.
Right.
So you deliver perfection. You've never made a mistake in all the signs we bought. And I think we bought a good amount of small stuff, but you guys do the big stuff, and I can't thank you enough. So I encourage people to give you guys a call.
And I'll,
Please do.
if I can add
How
on
do
to
they call? Yeah,
what
go
he
ahead.
said, I mean, when I left Fork Union and was kind of explaining to folks what kind of business I was, going into, I think the most important thing to hammer home for people listening that might be thinking, there's sign companies come in a lot of different varieties. Some of them do, smaller, more graphics. And I mean, we do graphics and things like that. But I think the biggest thing is we're what I like to call a fully integrated company. I mean, we take you from the very beginning, design through the manufacturing process and all the way through the install process. If you're in the general area, Eastern Seaboard area, we can design, manufacture, and install your sign for you, and take you through the whole process so that you're not working with multiple vendors on things like that. And that's not to say that there are multiple sign companies that are fully integrated like that, but not every single one of them is. And I think it's important to hammer home that if you work with Superior Signs, you're working with us throughout the entire process of your sign, from start to finish, from it being a visual on a piece of paper to being actually on the wall, whether that's a monument lighted sign out front or the Ignite sign sitting in here right now. Someone had to see a drawing of that and approve that.
Yes.
And you obviously, as our conversation before the podcast, were here when it got put up. But I think that is important to add on to what he said. That we're fully integrated, start to finish. We're there for you.
And I think that when I share people, Superior Signs, it's all about branding. You want your sign, you want the Ignite sign. Look at the shirts you guys got on. It's all about your brand. And that's where signage brings you. If you don't remember all the things you did for me, but you made our place look, even though it was old and dated, it was a ski chalet, it looked like. And we really upgraded it with signage, just little materials and something. And where do you build all this stuff? Everybody always wants to know, is it made in America or are you shipping this stuff in?
No, we
Where's it
do
fabricated?
the majority of it ourselves. We fabricate. We've got our offices on Willis Road in Richmond, North Chesterfield, and we do all of our own manufacturing, all of our own. There's certain small parts that we don't do, but the majority of it's done on Willis Road. It starts out a raw material and comes out as a sign.
Yeah.
We do all of our own install work, our permit work. It's like Mike said, it's single point accountability. If you start with us,
That's a big thing.
you in with us.
Because if you change your sign in front of a business, most people don't know this. You got to get a permit. You got car dealership. We were only allowed, if you remember, a certain amount of signs on that piece of property. And to change it, good luck to you. You don't want to go in front of anybody.
That's a story for another podcast.
That's correct. And it's ours. But you guys handle all that. It's turnkey.
Yes.
So I think what Michael's saying, and Evie's going to kick me off of this right now, all of us guys, because we're at 23 minutes. Maybe the longest one we've ever done. I love
Not
these
the
guys.
longest one, but it's getting
Good
there.
boy. But I know these guys. I love to talk to them because they got a great story. But I think, Michael, everybody's got to call you. If they need a need for their branding, you're not going to print business cards for them or make letterhead, but you could do just about everything else. Do you wrap cars or not? You used to, but you got out of it?
No, that's not kind of that's not our line.
That's not your line.
There are other companies out there that do a much better job of that, and that's what they're set up to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if I needed something, I think if I called you guys, told you who I was, I'm going to start a business, you'll get me in the hands of the right people.
Exactly.
And that's the beautiful part.
I had a guy walk in and ask for 50 lawn signs for a pressure washing business the other day, and I told him, I said, I know a guy up in Louisa who's a good friend of mine that can get these done for you quicker, cheaper, and send him, gave him his phone number. And so we're going to put you on if there's something that we feel like we could have done those. We couldn't do them as quick as he wanted.
Right.
We probably couldn't have done them as cheap as he wanted, because we got someone else that we know that mass produces those things. So we're going to get you in the hands of someone that can do it for you in the right way. If it's something that we can't do like that.
Right. And I will tell everybody listening to the last thing. One thing I've learned in 2.5 years, business owners, you advertise. This is not personal. You advertise as a business owner. You put your phone number out there. People call, and you have gatekeepers all of a sudden. All of a sudden, we forgot we made the investment of whether it's 10 grand, 100 grand, million, like I went through with you before, and we can't get people on the phone. And a lot of times we're calling because we have somebody asking for something, even though we don't advise, but they think we're against them or something. And it's truly mind-boggling. And then I put bets up to see how long that company will be around. And usually I'm right. It's not going to make it much longer. So don't be so guarded. But Evie, I am guarded against you. You have had enough of Barry, haven't you? You'll keep talking to these guys.
That's okay. I get
Go
to
ahead,
leave
wrap us
early
up.
today.
Go ahead.
But go ahead and let everybody know how they can contact you, your website, phone number.
You want me to take that one? Sure. Okay. You can our website is Superior Signs, so SuperiorSign, and I always say with an S, so SuperiorSignsRVA.com, and you can find our website there. You can find me. I'll give you my cell phone number. Give me a call if you need a sign. 804-317-7040. Our office number is 804-271. 5685, and after living in Fork Union and Fluvanna for 10 years, I'm surprised I didn't throw a 434 in front of there. But that's where you can reach us, and just give us a call. Ask for Mike. Ask for David. Actually, and we'll be happy to help you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for coming in here and for talking to us and for listening to Barry for the past 23 minutes.
I did lecture again. Another sermon.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Of course. Anyone that's watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and share. It's BBB Central Virginia. And if you're on Spotify, BBB Sharing, make sure to like, follow, and share that as well. Thank you.